After running a 4.65, how are we feeling about Cam Skattebo, Cardinals fans? Are you comfortable taking him at any point during the NFL draft, or should you just take him off your board?
Speaking of your board, is Monti Ossenfort ready to go BPA? Yikes, at pick 16. Ossenfort spoke at the league owners meetings. We're breaking down his comments. It's PHNX Cardinals now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This show is presented by our friends at Circle K today. Download the Circle K app for free. Terms and conditions apply. Participating locations, visit CircleK.com. For more details. Bo Brack in Studio K's got all the deets. Damon, Dawg back behind the mic today. How we living, fellas?
We're living well, better than what's going on. Trying to promote the show on Twitter. Struggling a little bit, but I want to say fond hello to our friends out there. How about Cards Kingdom? Shaft, dropping an LFG. Rando M's, Mike Meyer, I apologize. Benjamin, I see you, Mr. Fat Gangster. SATX, Bird Gang, Claymore Jones, the squad, Chris, the entire crew just here ready to talk some ball after a fun weekend.
Love ball. Love having fun with my favorites here. All the diehards at gophnx.com. Check out our top 100. Bo did a nice little article breaking it all down 1 through 100. We're going to have more in-depth videos on demand with regard to who we think the Cardinals are going to be most attracted to ahead of the draft. And we're kicking things off with a guy they used the top 30 selection on. And for everybody out there, and I know who you are, saying, stop talking about Cam Skattebo. They're not drafting Cam Skattebo. I mean, like, why did they use the top 30 visit on him? But again, find me the evidence. If you can find me the evidence where Monti Ossenfort has come out or Jonathan Gannon said, we're not drafting Cam Skattebo, then we'll stop talking about it. It's as easy as that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, right? I think I'm firmly in the camp that there would be some very unique circumstances that would have to happen for Cam Skattebo to be wearing Cardinals red and white come 2025 and beyond. But look, dreaming is free. Absolutely. Doesn't cost a thing. And it's not a matter of like who the prospect is. It remains me looking at the strength of this draft and where the Cardinals' weaknesses remain and where they could upgrade potentially in the first 3 to 4 rounds. And like things would have to fall. The dominoes would have to fall a very specific way, and Cam Skattebo be available for the Cardinals to take him and add him to their roster.
Well, Ossenfort is going to talk about BPA later in the show, and I think you could justify BPA and Cam Skattebo. I mean, I know everybody wants to criticize my criticism, maybe our criticism of taking a blocking tight end in the top 90 based on the fact that, they had 7 picks in the top 90 last year? I mean, it was a robust amount, and they splurged a little bit, right? It's like they had a surplus, they had a little extra walking around money, and they splurged on a Tip Ryman last year. I don't think Cam Skattebo is a splurge pick. I don't. We're going to talk about like where you and I would feel comfortable taking him. I think our answers may differ. But I tried to find with our friends at Bet365, as well as just Vegas in general, the consensus of where he's going to be drafted. It's not made available yet. Like, I feel like we're about 1 to 2 weeks out from like a Skattebo over under in terms of like pick or rounds. But the general consensus right now is that he's going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. And I feel like that's been kind of your stomach point, your comfort level. He is, by the way, plus 4,000 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't know if you saw that.
Whoa.
So, do that information what you will, Bo Brack.
I think that's going to be very contingent on where he lands and what opportunity he gets. I can tell you this much: if he lands with the Arizona Cardinals, it would have to be via an injury to maybe not just one running back, but two running backs. So, I mean, if you're into, I can see the value plus 4,000, man, it blows me away. 4,000 plus 4,000. Can you imagine what that kind of payday would look like and how very little you have to spend just to make some money on it? But at the same time, are you burning money? Are you just lighting it on fire? Very possibly, quite possibly, right? Was it like me putting any money into a bracket contest this year? Yes, it's pretty much the same thing.
That's fair enough. I couldn't even tell you where I finished or who I selected, but it's because I don't know college basketball. I think I know a thing or two about the old pigskin. You know who else does? Our friends at Pro Football Focus. They released their running back rankings, and they did it by traits, right? And I think it's important to justify what do the Cardinals look for in a ball carrier, in a guy who's going to tote the rock, and then what does Cam Skattebo do well? Let's take a look. Before we get to our tiers approach as it relates to where we feel comfortable with Skatt, this is the PFF RB superlatives as it relates to Cam Skattebo. Damon, Dawg, if we could see it. The best short yardage back, according to PFF, Cam Skattebo. The best overall pass catching back, not Ashton Genty or Hampton or whomever, Cam Skattebo. It's important trait. How about the hardest runner in college football? It's one Cam Skattebo. I'm sorry. I watched the Cardinals, how they want to operate. It's a smash mouth offense. It's not a finesse offense. It's an offense that desperately needs size and strength and short yardage, Bo, because Kyler Murray, his own regard, is not a short yardage runner, right? He's not able to do the tush push by conventional wisdom. And then, James Conner, historically, some of the backs that they've had behind him, you got to be able to catch the football out of the backfield. And we saw Cam Skattebo do that well. I think you put all that in a pot and say, the middle rounds of the draft, very appropriate. And it's very appropriate for this team.
Yeah. The Manalytics stew is off the charts there that you're putting into that pot. I mean, it's elite Manalytics right there. I mean, the charts, it's off the charts, really. Yeah. When you look at short yardage guy, a short yardage goat, and, the hardest running goat of this draft, yeah, sign me up. But then, once you start to kind of look at it, right, and how he goes up against, previous draft classes of running backs, yards after contact, he's right in line with a guy named Trey Benson, who currently resides on the Arizona Cardinals roster. Somebody they utilized a third-round pick on, who ran a 4.39. And then you look at, just what, he's registered as far as his athleticism, where his score ranks as far as the rest of his running back class in 2025. And it's not where you necessarily want it to be. So I think you are making a lot of consolations as far as what you would deem a good prospect. Obviously you have to marry the productivity and the athleticism and the measurables, right? But at the same time, I think that especially in this area, and then, we'll see where Damon falls on this. And of course, I kind of feel like where you fall on it feels like Cam Skattebo is your LeBron James. I would say that, he falls short of what you would want from a day 2 pick at the very least.
Damon, Bo teed you up there. And I just want to say, before you comment on it, I would say put your biases aside. You're a U of A homer. You host a U of A.
Now hold on. Damon is a bigger Cam Skattebo stumper than even myself. So if you're doing a PHNX Cardinals power rankings of the biggest Cam Skattebo fans on this show, it's Johnny on a different level.
Correct.
And then there's Damon, and then there's me.
Johnny's on a different spiritual plane. He worships the altar of Cam Skattebo.
He does.
I've been pretty pro Skattebo, and recently I feel like I've been put in this negative Skattebo box because I've been trying to ride for my guy T-Mac a little bit.
Sure.
In regards to that comparison, but I would love Cam Skattebo on this team, or maybe my other team if that was an option as well. That being said, I wouldn't use a 3rd round pick on him. I think I'd use a 4th round pick on him.
I subscribe to the juice category. Does anybody know what that means? Give me a little juice, man. This franchise desperately needs some juice. And I walk with me, everybody, because I understand Bo's point. I've also understood respectfully. I've watched this franchise wipe their ass with day 2 picks my entire adult and childhood, especially day 3 picks. Light them on fire, right? We'd have to do a marathon, ASU style, for 24 hours to go through all the busts that have been taken by this franchise during the NFL draft on guys that, fit more conventional NFL standards. I'm going to tell you right now, and again, trust when I say this, Cam Skattebo is a really good football player, and I think he's got a bright NFL future. A marketability standpoint should not be underserved here, can't be undervalued. I think at the end of the day, this franchise that is trying to do some new things with season tickets, trying to get more people at State Farm Stadium, trying to get a flipping nationally televised game. I'm sorry. Last year, they were on ESPN Plus, and it was a big wet fart of a game in terms of the national viewership. No one tuned in, right? Because they buried him on an app that nobody had access to. I just feel like you couple pick 78 with a kid who's got more cachet and juice than 90% of your roster. And I love this team. We cover it every day. But a marketability standpoint, sometimes I don't want to say it's called taking one for the team, but it makes football sense and it makes business sense to draft Cam Skattebo. Because here's the deal. If he becomes a solid pro, you're still going to market from that, right? Maybe even if it was a round too high for some people, right? Like I am fine with pick 78. Pick 115 is probably more so Bo and Damon's preference. But if it can get this team on a greater scale with a bigger audience to ingratiate more people to root for this franchise so that this franchise can be more viable. And yes, winning plays a big part in that. Like sign me up for that. Give me some cachet with this franchise. We're Marvin Harrison Jr., I would argue I want to be respectful here.
Please.
Who do you think has more cachet outside of Cam Skattebo that the Cardinals have drafted within the last 10 years coming into the NFL? Marvin had more cachet for sure. I mean, Kyler Murray had more cachet. Outside of that, rounds 1 through 7, pre-draft, who would be a bigger star for this team?
When we talked to the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, an exclusive interview in Indianapolis, we talked to him about tons of topics, right? But it all funnels into one big thing, right? And is it going to impact his team winning or losing a football game? And cachet doesn't register to Jonathan Gannon. It's not going to register to Monti Ossenfort. It just doesn't. Like selling a bunch of t-shirt jerseys to your fan base that you can rep at State Farm Stadium, like that's great. But you know what's really going to be the biggest driving force for that? You know what I'm going to say? Winning football games. And Marvin Harrison Jr., thank God, thank the football gods. Thank you. The Fanatics got their crap together. And after ruining his rookie season and not making his jersey available over, a drop in the bucket to that company.
Bad.
That now you can get a Marv jersey. You've got a ton of Kyler Murray jerseys already there.
But you even lost some of that momentum last year with that not being available.
At the end of the day, it doesn't impact this team taking the next step. Like when you start to talk about how bad the draft picks have been for this team, the history, the annals of Cardinals draft history, it's like what you say, a horror show. It's awful. It's tough to find. I saw that the Cardinals had like the most top 10 picks like in the history of the sport. It's unbelievable.
All Hall of Famers. Let's count.
Nothing to show for it. But Monti Ossenfort has been on the job now going into his third draft. And we have to remember this, that Monti Ossenfort should not have to pay for the sins of his predecessor, Steve Keim and gang.
Yeah,
he shouldn't. And I know you're going to push back and say he used the 82nd overall pick on a blocking tight end, but he also had an enormous amount of top 100 picks. He had 7 top 100 picks. And the one thing that you could say about Tip Ryman, as I point my finger, I apologize, that's rude. One thing you could say about Tip Ryman yesterday, today, and tomorrow is he has a role on game day for this Arizona Cardinals team. You can belittle it all you want. You can minimize it, but he has a role. What's Cam Skattebo's role going to be on the team if you're going to utilize a top 100 pick?
I'm going to tell you right now, this is where we're going to disagree. And I love the kid. Okay. I think he's a good prospect coming out. I don't think you can look me in the eye. You're going to, and tell me that like Trey Benson is definitively better than Cam Skattebo. Like you're going to justify that. You're going to do what? You're going to pull up his metrics from last offseason and compare them, which they are superior to Skattebo's. But you turn on the tape of who's just a better instinctual runner of the football, right? And played against probably better competition, undoubtedly, in the college football playoff with maybe a worse offensive line than Florida State's. Cam Skattebo is RB2 eventually behind James Conner, which then he's the heir apparent to James Conner. And maybe there's a tandem. DeMarcado got carries last year with Trey Benson and James Conner. So, no, I mean, role, I think, is irrelevant. Cam Skattebo, he's Mr. Jack of all trades. He can catch the football. He can throw the football. He can play special teams. He can run the football. I mean, like, the blocking tight end they selected is the third option as a receiving tight end, and it's an eyesore watching that take place. You're telling me with all the additional benefits, and you cannot devalue how big of the benefits they would be off the field. And that's, I'll be straight with everybody. It's part of my argument. It's not the whole thing. I also don't think you can allow Cam Skattebo to go within proximity within the NFC West and have success and have that not look bad on Ossenfort.
This isn't Terrell Suggs in the
How
first
do you know?
round.
How do you know? You don't know that.
I have a pretty good inkling that he's not going to be a Hall of Famer like Terrell Suggs. I think that just playing the percentages would work in my favor. Terrell Suggs had 24 sacks his last season for the Sun Devils. Like, he was a first round pick. He was firmly a first round pick.
Cardinals got him eventually.
There was there's some questions about like where he would play. We played in the dirt. Would he stand up? Ravens figured that out, right? Like you want to point to taking Levi Brown over Adrian Peterson, like those ghosts of Cards, draft pass, like they're very real, and they'll continue to haunt this team. But I don't think that Cam Skattebo should be the guy that you're going to like just continue to go to war for. Like, he's gonna be a good running back. I think that he could be. I've kind of wavered on the idea that he can be a bell cow in an NFL offense. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. But like the idea that he's going to be this difference maker for a team that's on the precipice of a playoff spot, I just think that they need to allocate those resources elsewhere, especially top 100 picks.
I can understand the logic there. The comps you're making, though, they're consistent with one thing. Those are first round picks you're talking. No one's talking about taking Cam Skattebo in the first round. Now even the second round. Okay. This is a mid-round pick, right? And like, I think you and I think it's probably on the lower end of likelihood that he's going to be taken, maybe, but probably not before pick 78. Like, percentage-wise, probably 75-25. He's not going before their pick at 78. Do you feel good about that?
Say that again.
Probably lesser likely that he goes before them at pick 78.
Right. Correct. I feel good about that.
So, like, what are we even talking about here? I mean, we're talking about maybe trying to add an additional pick to use on him, trading down and taking him at 78, which again, no one can sit here and tell me that's an overdraft, where the consensus for most people is that's where he should be drafted on the higher end. And then they just took Tip Ryman at 82nd last year. Don't talk to me about overdraft. I just sit there and stomach a blocking tight end from the University of Illinois last year when the Cardinals, I mean, what was Ossenfort's third round last year? Trey Benson, okay? Isaiah Adams, who did not play till the end of the year, I think is going to be a good player. Mm-hmm. Tip Ryman and Elijah Jones. Like, let's not sit here and say that we're all high and Marty and we're above taking this all.
You've already taken 3 players in the draft, though.
Yeah, but I don't care about that because you've added
because it doesn't make your argument.
You've added 20 plus rookies to this roster the last couple of years.
He asked what he added a top flight wide receiver that they viewed, Marvin Harrison Jr., 4th overall. They took a defensive line player in Darius Robinson, and they took a corner that they really liked to Max Melton, and they traded down and they created more capital. Like he had 3 players I mean, arguably, I won't say wide receivers, not considered a premium position. It's paid like a premium position. Arguably 3 premium positions. And then he started to go running back and tight end, stuff like that. Like I'll agree with you to an extent. Here's where my compromise will be. If we get to like day 3 of the draft, it's when you really like the 4th round. I'm fine. If you want to play the lottery, start in the 4th round, that's fine. Like if you think that you can get a guy that like can come in and is not going to be a player for you like to start the season, but you see long-term that this is somebody that can make an impact, that's fine for me. But I really do think that they need to do a lot of more heavy lifting as far as rebuilding this defensive front 7, their offensive line, defensive secondary.
Disagree.
Yeah. All get that checklist in order. But if we're sitting here and we're coming off 2 straight days of broadcasting and, day 1 and day 2 has been great. There is a little bit more like shoot from the hip feeling on Saturday morning. And they're like, okay, 4th round. Okay. Now we can do that. But I still think like if they don't really address aggressively the defensive front 7 in the first 2 days, like this is a draft that does have players that I would feel uneasy passing over just because of the role. And also one thing I'll say about Cam Skattebo is that there could be some teams that could view him as a 3rd round pick. He felt pretty confident in saying himself as a 3rd round pick.
Oh yeah.
But that's because those teams have the opportunities available. Like if you're talking Dallas in the 3rd round, I think that's a great pick for the Cowboys just because they don't have anybody on that roster that would he would have standing in his way. Like he could come contribute right away because there's a role for him potentially on game day, where I don't see the same thing for the Cardinals right now, just as how their running back room is built.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Neither of us would look at running back. With that comment, we are, Mr. Smartass. The Cardinals don't need a running back today, right? I just sometimes, goodness, they have so many draft picks over the last 3 years. There are special circumstances that warrant special considerations. And I see people in the chat, and respectfully, like Nacho Libre saying, don't fall in love because he's a local product. And I've been Mr. like, stay away from that narrative. I hate that narrative. Nacho Libre, I'm with you. I think it's overrated. But I also know the amount of juice that Skattebo has. And he's the best player, maybe, in the history of that program. And the cachet he brings could help this franchise in more than just on the field. And I don't think that that's nothing. I mean, it pains us to watch this team on the field, off the field, lose fans in the stands, right? And if you can get 10% more people in that building that want to support this young man that otherwise maybe are not fans of this franchise, I'm not going to sit here and say like that's not nothing. And certainly it's worth, I don't know, Elijah Jones from last year, which gave you nothing, right? It's worth Tip Ryman. But that's just my opinion, right? And we don't all think the same way, and that's the beauty of the show. And we got people in the chat saying, well, is that even best player available? We're going to talk BPA. Ossenfort spoke at the NFL owners meetings. He talked about BPA, and he talked about free agency. That's coming up. But first, we're getting a nice little break from the heat this week. I saw it's like mid to high 70s, it's chef's kiss for the end of March, early April. But we all know hotter temperatures are ahead, and that's where you got to call on the experts at All Pro Shades Concepts. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning, hundreds of designs and colors to choose from. They do it, and they do it the best. Roll down patio shades, block out the sun, keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler. Hundreds of durable fabrics, colors to choose from manual to motorized. They can also replace and fix most outdated patio shades, which is great. A lot of my buddies, a lot of our friends, family, they're like, I've got one. I don't like it. I don't think they can help me. They definitely can. Give them a call right now, 623-204-1476, or visit allproshades.com. Again, they're licensed, bonded, and insured. They've been in the Valley for over 20 years. Schedule your free estimate today. It's All Pro Shades Concepts.
I love them. I saw them on Instagram, started following them. It looks unbelievable. Can't wait to get some on my house. You ever check your bank account, though, and wonder where all your money went? Maybe it's those food delivery orders you're putting in, late night online shopping sprees. Johnny loves those. Any ride shares that add up faster than you think. Keeping track of your finances, it's tough nowadays. It's a la carte everything, right? Monarch Money acts as your personal CFO. Who couldn't use one of those? Giving you full visibility, control, so you can just stop just earning and start growing. It's not just another budgeting app. It's the complete financial command center where you're going to have complete control of your finances. Monarch can help you see all your accounts, credit cards, investments in one place, making managing your money effortless. And that's what we want. Monarch Money is a tool people actually love. Named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025 with over 35-star reviews. It's the top recommended personal finance app for a reason. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser and use half off for the first year. 50% off your first year. monarchmoney.com. Use the code PHNX.
We need your help on this show. Drop us some likes. We got 414 watching live. We got some issues on Twitter. It's not our fault. It's the app. So do us a favor. Jump on over to gophnx.com. Watch the show. Drop us a comment. Drop us a like here. So much good stuff to jump into here. Last day of March, which means April 1st is tomorrow. No, it's not a Fool's Day. It just marks the home stretch.
Forgot about that.
For draft day. Yeah, you won't see this show doing any tomfoolery. We're 100% a serious broadcast. But here's what I can tell you. This segment brought to you by our friends at Shady Rays. The future is bright. Let's put on those rose-colored glasses and explain why the future is bright for the Arizona Cardinals, brought to you by Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com, bonus code PHNX to check off, 35% off right now. Is the future bright with Monti Ossenfort and the Arizona Cardinals? Bo, you were there last year. Monti Ossenfort breaking it down in Florida at the owner meeting. Supposedly Gannon is going to talk tomorrow. Ossenfort spoke to Darren Urban of azcards.com, I think exclusively. And here are some of his comments. Let's first start with free agency, Damon. Free agency 2025. There were a number of players we wanted to go and sign, and 31 other teams can go after those players too. And the players have a choice, and it's a negotiation. Sometimes you get the players you want. Sometimes you have to pivot. Of course, we know the Arizona Cardinals were in on several free agents like a Wills Fries. And of course, our guy, I can't even remember his name. Yeah, our big guy Williams, who ended up going to New England. Let's keep it going with Ossenfort here. So they pivoted. How about Dalvin Tomlinson? It just so happened that Dalvin was someone we had embarked that could be released, Bo, but could never bank on that. When the time happened, I've been a long time admirer of Dalvin and his game. When he came available, it was a great fit. And then lastly, on free agency, the approach, believing that just because you have the room, it doesn't mean you have to go crazy to use that cap space. You want to be resourceful with it. You want to be intentional, and you've got to make the right decisions, because if you don't, it doesn't just hamper this year, but it can for subsequent teams as well. But we still have room, and Ossenfort started the interview by basically coming out and saying, like, we're not done that. We haven't closed the door on anybody. So your thoughts and comments on Ossenfort, Bo?
Yeah, including because you're white, Will Hernandez. I think Darren Urban had mentioned them, and it's something we had talked about on our mini pod over the weekend. You can check that out here on PHNX Sports YouTube channel. But I mean, you like the start, right? Where he's like, hey, we were trying to do a lot of things, and sometimes they don't work in your favor. And some people will say, Cardinals always the bridesmaid, where they, too cheap, they're not ante up. But then you look at it, the actual, facts that go into it, or what you can just, speculate. Educated speculation is that, nobody was going to outbid the Patriots for Milton Williams, but they were into the bitter end, and they were in on the top guard, and the Minnesota Vikings inexplicably gave him a 5-year deal, which is tough to find these days. And those were things I would imagine that Monti Ossenfort had his, deal breakers that he wasn't willing to go past. And the Cardinals still were able to have what I think some people would deem a successful free agent period. They utilized the tool correctly, and they were able to help their biggest weakness. And I liked what he said about Dalvin Tomlinson, that he was a guy that they had on their radar, and you can't always anticipate them getting released because it's an inexact science, but they were ready to go, because that was our biggest thing, right? You and I would get on this show for the next 2 days after they signed Josh Sweat and said, where are the other big moves, right? And it's like, are they just sitting on their hands? And it's just, it feels like Dalvin Tomlinson just happened to be the perfect storm, and they were aggressive in getting them. Like, to the extent where people are like, it was an overpay. But I think, given their weakness and given their cap flexibility, they were willing to name that price.
Yeah, I mean, Ossenfort, we should preface this all by saying I think he's a good GM. Like, he's not the best quote, right? Like, I see, Carolina's head coach, their GM, they're talking to Kay Adams, basically saying we're going to go defense at pick 8. I mean, like, Ossenfort from that Patriot way, I know it's pretty wild. Like, some of these coaches, they just let it rip. Some of these GMs, like Ossenfort, he's almost coach speak-esque the way he delivers. And like, Keim could cut it loose a little bit. Like, Ossenfort is very paint by numbers, right? But I think when you're talking about free agency in particular, where I think we had set ourselves up for the expectation they were going to spend, there was a roller coaster of that first week, and they ended up getting the job done. Like, Ossenfort, before they even play a game, deserves some flowers with that. What I will say is, talking about they don't want to set themselves up for, disappointment or lack of a better term, like putting themselves in a hole by spending more. Like, the building of this roster is not done, and you have $41 million. We know they need an outside corner. I feel like right now, free agency in general is kind of at a standstill. Maybe, Bo, it's a byproduct of this free agency class not being great. And Ossenfort's like, this is as much as I want to go. I'm going to add defensive line. That's about it. And we're going to re-sign our own guys. But I don't know. It does feel like right now, with about 25 days left remaining, like, it would be a disappointment if they didn't go out and add another piece. $41 million, and a Trey McBride extension is not going to hamper that. I'm hopeful that a couple of these deals come to fruition, because we're going to talk about BPA here in a second. It makes me kind of sick to my stomach to hear.
Well, yeah, and I think that Monti Ossenfort is encouraged as you are with this offseason, and it's not like an overwhelming sense of optimism, but he was able to do some things that he hadn't done as Cardinals general manager yet, right? Like, we go through it, the timeline, he tears it down, he starts to rebuild it through the draft, almost exclusively through the draft, got some like floor raisers that didn't work, and then now he goes out, he gives a 4-year, $76 million plus deal to Josh Sweat. He gets Dalvin Tomlinson. He pursued him aggressively after he was released on the new league year. But like, do you get the sense that, hey, this is a general manager that's going to do whatever it takes as far as cap dollars to land that prize free agent? And I don't know if you can definitively say that. I don't know if Monti Ossenfort might even just tell you your face point blank, I'm not that guy. Yeah. I've got my
You're not that guy, pal.
Right. I mean, and that was with like his final quote there, right? That we had taken from, easycardinals.com, and Darren Urban was, like, you don't just go spend essentially. Right. But like, he has his limits. So like, that's the thing is he going to, when the Cards are in a position, like say next year is a success or a smashing success, and say it's not Super Bowl though, and you need to get over that hump, and that player presents himself in free agency, is Monti Ossenfort going to do what it takes? And he's going to have, like, because of their spending this offseason, they should have enough cap flexibility to do it again next year.
They're going to have maybe more money, especially if they pivot with a lot of the free agents signed from last year. If they have a successful year, they win 10, 11 games, or if not more, I wonder if this is like almost a one and done for him. 2 free agents like this, that's the kind of, they have to be confident of the players that they have in the building, and that's great. It's great to be confident, right? But like, this $41 million, if the team implodes this year, like, hey, congratulations, you get to roll that over for not you, maybe potentially in 18 months from now. Like, that's always been my biggest criticism, is like, don't go all in this offseason, but clearly you have holes on your roster still, and we're going to talk about it, and you have been almost draft dependent to a fault.
Right.
There are guys in free agency that can help you or could have helped you thus far that you could have said, okay, I got $41 million. Here's a $11 million deal. Here's a $15 million deal. Just to buy some additional insurance. I understand, because again, if they win next year, everything takes care of itself. Oh, good, we have this money now. We can extend Garrett Williams and Paris and Trey McBride. that's the way it's supposed to be, right? That's how the Packers do business. That's how good franchises do. But you got to earn that point. You got to earn if you're Ossenfort that second contract. And what happens if you go 7-10 or 8-9 and you're year to year again? And it's like, well, now I got to re-sign my own guys because they're good and I want to lose them. But we also need more help because I overvalued this position in the draft. I don't know. I feel like if it works out, this is probably it. Like maybe we get one move a year, the caliber of Tomlinson. But you could tell, like when we were at the draft, the pressure was on for him. And if this is him kind of responding to pressure, it's like, I don't want to use the term bare minimum. I think that would be disrespectful. But it's in that neighborhood of this is what you needed to do. Anything less than this, because we were on his ass after the Sweat deal to get a D tackle, and we would have been burning this mother effer down if they hadn't gotten a D tackle. If that hadn't happened, so it was almost the bare minimum, and he got it done. Kudos to him.
Well, and it like still another tool about the offseason for the draft. Like he's got to show like I didn't go aggressively after Jonathan Allen or who was the other guy from the Niners, Hargrave, because we had the opportunity to we viewed the draft as where we were going to lock in a guy that's controllable for the next 4 years. 4 to 5 years, and that was going to be our way of improving that group with Dalvin Tomlinson and Josh Sweat and hopefully another edge rusher. But the risk aversion, like it can be viewed as a negative still for a guy like Monti Ossenfort, to where it's like, remember the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry finally got healthy or whatever, and Mark Jackson was his head coach, and they were fine. And then they go and they get Steve Kerr, and then they become a dynasty. And it was like they needed kind of a looser way of approach. And I know that's like a big reach for what's going on with the Cardinals and their general manager. But if they have somebody that's a little bit more like Kwesi of the Vikings, like at some stage of this thing, are they going to benefit more from that? Now that they've got a lot of homegrown guys that have developed and are ready to, make the playoffs consistently.
The best GMs in the league balance draft and develop with picking their spots and hitting on free agents. Like Howie Roseman signs free agents, makes trades. Like, again, the only way Keim could succeed was hitting on a select number of free agents and trades. But he did it, and that's why he stuck around for 10 years, probably 5 years, 6 years too long. And then, like, on the flip side, if you're going to be so dependent on the draft, it's like that culture we talked about with Skattebo here in a little bit ago. Like, the Green Bay Packers can do that because they have the built-in Lombardi trophies and the built-in ignorance that free agents don't want to play in Green Bay. Like, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's not worth repeating, but like Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, it's a destination city with minimal taxes. Like, people will come here if you pay them. Facility be damned. Like that Garofalo, that does not matter, right?
Right.
So if you want to do the front end first, and he's done that for 2 years, build it up in the draft, awesome. But at some point, and we'll break down this roster till the cows come home. You gotta make the playoffs. You gotta win games. You gotta have the arrow pointing up. You've had 2 years to put it together. Have a mulligan last year after your collapse. Like, if it doesn't get done this year, then what are we going to be saying next offseason, right? I think it's going to be, this is the quietest offseason potentially that they're going to have the benefit of having. Because if they implode this year, it's going to be about, can they finish? What's wrong with Kyler? What's wrong? What's wrong with our boy JG? Like, all that comes into play, and that I hate that narrative. And if that narrative can get dispelled by spending a little bit more money on a corner or a guard, why the F didn't you do that? Why is that? Why aren't you helping your team say, we want 8 games. We want to Viking-proof this roster with J.J. McCarthy in the ultra-competitive NFC North. We're just going to pump resources in here on 1 to 2 year deals. So guess what? If they don't work out, goodbye. See ya. Yeah. Get your money back.
It's like I don't want a car payment. I like a car, right? But does it break down? Way too far off there, or like when you need to be somewhere on time and your car's broken down on the side of the road, like, wouldn't you have taken a car payment then? Like, if you put your team in that position, like that's going to be a tough look. But if they continue to do this, if they continue to trend up, as you said, the arrow pointing in the right direction, like then Monti Ossenfort and this to a fan base frustrating approach, way less active than the previous regime. Like that's like the medicine, that's eating your vegetables, whatever analogy you want it. And it will pay off, but it's got to pay off soon because we understand this. And Jonathan Gannon said this multiple times. They understand it's a results business. Like he can love his process and think it's dialed in, but if it doesn't produce the results, he understands, the ugly nature of the NFL and the business side of things.
I think we all really, I certainly do, underestimate how bad the roster was 2 years ago. I mean, it was expansion level bad. And Ossenfort let Byron Murphy and Zach Allen walk because it didn't fit the timeline. Right. But the Cardinals roster, when we were covering the team in the summer of 2023, was amongst the worst the NFL had seen, I think, in like 5 to 10 years.
Remember the mass exodus? Remember, it was just huge waves, wave after wave of Keim guy leaving the building. People like, you better not let those guys go. They're going to bite you in the backside. And then next thing you know, it's like they're not even in the league or they're barely hanging on. Like they don't, there's not a single person that exited this organization. We're like, oh crap, man. I wish we could have had one of those guys outside of the two you just mentioned that they let walk via free agency.
They tried to re-sign Zach Allen, and he chose Denver, and it was the right decision for him.
Right.
But think about the state of that roster, and then what was the response then? The response was, well, we have 20-plus draft picks. I mean, you're not going to hit on all those guys. They're not going to – not everybody's coming in this building and being Paris Johnson Jr.
Right.
And that goes into our next conversation right around the corner. Ossenfort talks about my worst fear at pick 16 and its best player available that's coming up. Yeah, it's a concern. I'll tell you what's not a concern is our friends at Shady Rays. They do the opposite. They dispel fears here in the Valley and beyond because, again, premium sunglasses, not a premium price. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays has you covered. The independent sunglasses company offering world-class products rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for your outdoor adventures. I hike in mine, exercise, wear them around town, wear them when I'm driving. I've got 4 or 5 pairs here. None of them cost me over $40. That's how I like them, right? I can drop them. My kids can flub around with them. It's just, they're the perfect shades for me and my lifestyle. They can be perfect for you too. Plus, if you don't love them, you order some. Exchange them for a new pair, worry-free for 30 days. If you're ordering off a website, I'm like, I don't know how that's going to vibe with my face. Trust me, their team has your back with personal and fast support. And this is exclusive for our listeners right now. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Bonus code PHNX, 35% off. Tell them Johnny and Bo sent you. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Love that. And whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned pro, buying a home can always be tricky. That's why we recommend Carol Royce and her team. It's unbelievable what's going on with the Carol Royce team, whether you're a VIP buyer or unlocking exclusive off-market homes that you won't find on Zillow or Realtor.com. That's what Carol Royce gives you access to. That VIP access that you're seeking means less competition, better deals for you, and the perfect home just for you as well. Worried about financing? Carol has got you covered. She works with the top lenders to get the best rates and loan options out there, which is so important in this market. If you just want to talk about the market, give Carol Royce and her team a call, 480-776-5231. She came into the office. I'm like, I don't need to talk real estate. She came in and gave me information that I didn't even know I needed about this market, which is you really just, if you need to talk to somebody, check them out, carolroyceteam.com. But that number is so important, 480-776-5231. The best part, Carol's so confident you're going to love your home that if you're not happy within 18 months, she's going to buy it back. I mean, talk about really no issues there. Like you can get into a home. If you don't like Carol Royce and her team's going to buy it back. Check them out, carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions apply. Carol Royce, your home sold guarantee realty. Let's get you home.
We're home here with all of you, all 500 of you watching live here on a football Monday. Again, our draft coverage in full effect. Check us out at gophnx.com. Smash that like button. It is imperative. So we're able to get Mina Kimes and our guy Mike Garofalo, who we're hoping joins us later this week to talk all things Cardinals and top 30 visits. And speaking of top 30 visits, who will the Cardinals visit with pick 16? Ossenfort continued his conversation with azcards.com. This is his approach at 16. Take it with a grain of salt. We know Ossenfort. He loves his coach speak. Let's check it out, Damon, Dawg. Monty on his approach to 16. I feel like we're in a spot that come the end of April and the draft, it really opens us up to take the best player. He said there isn't one spot where we have that at 16 because we have to go. We have to have someone immediately go in there. So I like the latter. Again, the expectation, Marv, save the receiving core. Darius, save the D-line. Paris, save us at right tackle, then left tackle. I understand the back half of that. Take somebody, the best player at 16, that you don't have to play necessarily right away. But if the best player on your board is not an edge rusher, a defensive lineman, one corner maybe, or a top tackle, I don't want to hear about it.
Don't you think it would be, though?
I hope so.
I mean, when Fran Duffy, our All-City draft analyst, when he said he was looking at kind of the trends for the Arizona Cardinals under Monti Ossenfort, and it's still a little sample size, but they like, big, athletic players at a premium position. Like, I think that to check those boxes, and I think they want to, especially with their top pick, that comes into play. Like, they're not going to be looking at the South Carolina safety 16th overall. I think that the art of the way that Monti Ossenfort answers questions from the media, like how he says he gives you a lot of information, but he also gives you nothing at the same time. I think that's where it leaves a lot up to you and I and the audience and Cardinals fans to try to decipher what he says. But he's not trying to point any direction because he wants to keep that close to his vest so he can, regardless if it really does kind of impact who's available, he doesn't want anything to really kind of put him in a tough spot that somebody could not be there at 16.
Yeah, there's no benefit for Ossenfort talking his draft strategy at pick 16. There's just not. And I understand that. I'm more interested with his free agent comments, and
unless he's smitten with Kay Adams, like apparently the Carolina Panthers contingent is.
Yeah, it's just like, we really like defense at pick 16. It's like, good hell. Listen, if you and I had a chance to sit down with Kay Adams, who knows what we would reveal that we had no intention of doing. But Ossenfort, to me, the reason for hope is, come on now. This is a respectful show. First
family program, Johnny.
That's right. First 2 rounds of the draft, only premium positions drafted. Max Melton played corner, Ojulari edge rusher, Darius defensive tackle, D-line, Paris OT, Marvin wide receiver, like premium positions, right? And I feel like if you're a franchise, I'm not down bad for Kay Adams here. Did we almost get her on the show once, and then she wasn't affiliated with our betting partner, and she couldn't be on the show? That was a tough day for your boy.
No, that would have been unfortunate if Johnny froze up on air and couldn't get any words out, and then you had to just carry the interview
with Kay.
Yeah,
yeah.
We know that's what would have happened.
We were robbed of it. But we were.
She literally was getting ready to put her headset on and sit down, and then she said, "I can't." We're playing in different sandbox with betting partners, and she couldn't do it.
Yeah,
that was like 2-3 years ago.
It was. We got Pat McAfee later that day, though. So
we did. That was good. It was a good day. We almost had the infinity gauntlet of NFL personalities, but Tim asking, could Kay Adams convince me to draft another tight end? Well, I'm not. Can the tight end? Can he catch? Can he actually receive as a tight end? I don't know. Ossenfort's track record in the first round, I've loved every pick so far. So I'm not going to sit here and crush the guy for BPA comments. But BPA better not be an off-ball linebacker, Monty. If your
Agreed.
BPA is the best available off-ball linebacker, that's a bad. Yeah. I've seen that horror show in 2021 and in 2020, right? I don't want to do that again. Will Johnson is not my preference. The kid from Texas, what's his name? It's not my preference. I at least can wrap my head around it.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And, there's that corner from Texas.
Barron. Yeah.
That's shooting up everybody's board. I'm going to tell you right now, though, and we're 25 days away from this. With each passing day, if they don't sign a veteran corner is more and more in play at 16, which is not my preference.
Right. And that's based on, obviously that they've gone to that well quite a bit lately, right? I mean, it's a premium position. It checks that box. But
also, we're just going to put this out. We have some insight, but go ahead. We have some insight pertaining to that position group right now.
Right.
And that's all we can say.
But as far as it being a premium position, at least it's there, right? And you'll sleep not a good night's sleep after the draft party, but you won't be restless the rest of the way if they take an off-ball linebacker or an interior offensive lineman, because that really is punting on the true value of 16th overall. I know it's right smack dab in the middle of the first round, but for you not to lean in and get a fifth year on a premium position, especially in a draft that should have plenty of them available, and you go out there and you get a guy who's going to be like, I'm sure Gray Zabel is going to be a fine right or left guard in this league. And I'm sure Jahad Campbell is going to be a fine off-ball linebacker. But Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawls has shown the ability to take, the biggest, mound of chicken crap and turn it into chicken salad at that position. They took a undrafted player out of Wisconsin and TJ Edwards. They took a converted safety and Kazir White and turned them into a very solid linebacking core. They don't need to utilize first round pick on a non-premium position. They just don't. So that's where you really need to spend your draft capital wisely there. Outside of that, sure, that's outside of the top 100, you can go buck wild.
I don't think this is revealing too much. We talked to Jonathan Gannon off air, and he's like, why can't we just go get another Isaiah Adams type? Well, he's not talking about taking Isaiah Adams in the first round. Right? You take an Isaiah Adams 47 or 78. And he said that with all the confidence in the world. So if he's thinking like that, and his MO with Rawls is don't take linebackers early, and those three talk constantly,
right?
Why would it add up?
Said him and Monti are in lockstep on roster. So why would the philosophies differ that much? And she's like, well, really like his tape at Bama. It's like, great. Everybody loves Jahad Campbell's tape at Bama. It's
not
great.
Going to help us win the NFC West.
Yeah, it's not going to be the true impact maker to consistently be successful. It helps to get a playmaking off-ball linebacker. Look at the Niners, but they got Fred Warner in the third round, didn't they? I mean, that's usually where you can find those guys if they have the right makeup. You don't how often do we have to bang this fan base over the head? Hassan Reddick, Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins,
Dayon Buchanan, Kevin Minter.
They threw so many resources at that position. What was the payoff? Oh God.
There's the payoff.
Let's pay off one more time. We'll get back into this conversation as far as best player available in the direction the Cardinals GM should be willing to go here on PHNX Cardinals. Got to tell you about our friends over at Pure Edibles. Johnny, everybody drop that like for Pure Edibles. We love them. They've got their kicks. They've got their chews, which are like caramel, hard candies, the gummies. It's a full-fledged candy company. That's what Pure Edibles is all about. Founded in Flagstaff, Arizona, up I-17, now calling Phoenix their home, cranking out unbelievable gummies with the Pure effects clearly listed on each tin so you know exactly what effects to expect. You can find them in over 130 dispensaries in our great state of Arizona. And Pure offers gummies for sleep support as well as candies with uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBD, and CBG and CBD, and marijuana derived from THC. Look, you got to check them out right now. They got Pure gummies designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable, easy to dial in that exact dose. You're looking for a good time, they're always going to deliver on it. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products and run the 130 dispensaries in Arizona. Pure Edibles.
Love our friends at Pure Edibles. Love our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass, because, of course, it's the site of our 2025 NFL Draft Party, April 24th, starting I think at 5:30. We're fired up about it. Get your tickets now. They are dwindling away, friends. I'm going to tell you right now, your ticket is going to get you all you can eat from the buffet. It means you can go up once, twice, 3 times, as many times as you want, and then load up with 3 drink tickets. And then, of course, it's going to get you in the door. It's going to give you an opportunity to enter multiple raffles. If you think you're going to get one and done raffles for a little rinky-dink towel. That's not how we operate at PHNX Cardinals. Last year, we were giving away signed jerseys, signed football, signed helmets, that and more at our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. Again, the draft party of all draft parties, it is off the chain. We want to see you there. Again, hit us up right here on Twitter. If you've got your tickets, tag us, retweet, follow from the beat account. If you are already a diehard, make sure you're logged into your account. Use your code, get 20% off. We want you coming, having a great time, saving money in the process. Thursday, April 24th. Again, 5 p.m. at the Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. We had the absolute best time last year. This is the most intimate setting. They've got TVs. They've got big screens, projectors. We're going to be there. We're going to be hanging out. Bo and I aren't clocking in, clocking out, right? We're there. We're there for like 10 hours ready to party with you ahead of pick 16 so that if they do take an off-ball linebacker, everybody 150 plus in attendance can console me as I weep on the floor. But we're all going to have emotions together. In all seriousness, get your tickets now. They will sell out. We appreciate all of you.
Love that. Wow. I'm moved by that. We'll all find out together. We'll all get through it together, potentially kind of bracing for impact a little bit.
Listen, we can pretend it's going to be Mason Graham in a trade up, but I'm just being realistic here.
Are you prepared for the team to get better at 16?
Ossenfort also said something to the effect of like, I think we could play a game tomorrow or something. Like, I feel good about, I feel like that's another coach speak. You can just check about, yeah, we're ready to go. And I don't feel good. I don't think you could play a game tomorrow. I got to watch Baron Browning start at edge rusher, Monty. Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
I'm being a sicko on the mock draft simulator. ESPN's got one now we might have to dabble with.
Okay.
When you don't take a D tackle at 16, it's bad news at 47. I'm sure you guys have all seen that. Whereas you take an edge rusher, you could luck out. I double dipped on edges today via PFF, posted that on Twitter. You don't go DT though.
Do you get roasted or do people like it?
Most people liked it. If you don't go Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon, one of those big heavies, I don't know if you're taking a D tackle within your first 3 picks. I don't think it happens.
I disagree with that. Even though I think like 47, then it becomes a little tough, right? And you've got Collins out of Texas. Yeah, I know somebody tagged us, both of us, on Twitter, and Shamar Turner from Texas A&M striking a man at an opponent in the junk. Not a good look. Not a good, not a classy move. But
that's who I took in my mock, by the way.
He's fiery. You can say that. He's fiery. Goes got a little bit of a loose cannon. But look, I think that you are going to see the depth of this defensive line class later. But like, is it the 47? Like, is that the sweet spot? Probably not. Like, that's probably where you'll be able to find a ton of edges potentially.
If you're watching with one of our many streaming partners, jump on over to gophnx.com. Get in on the action. Drop us a like. I want to get to this graphic because Damon has it queued up now. It's the Skattebo sweet spot. I know you guys probably think we've pivoted off Cam Skattebo. We will never. I will never.
Not so fast.
Let's check it out, Damon. The Skattebo sweet spot. Round 5, too low. Round 3, too high. Round 4, pick 115, just right. I'm sure there'll be people if they would take him at 115 that would not like the pick locally, which is shocking to me. But I mean, Cam Skattebo at 115 would be an absolute godsend for so many different reasons. I don't know if I would be able to control myself on that show. First of all, getting from whatever that 105 to 115, those 10 picks are going to be like I'm being stabbed in the chest. We're watching that broadcast in studio that day. I'll be hyperventilating. I won't even be able to do the show. Oh, Chargers are on the clock. Ah!
Just think you used to live and die whether or not a team took Luke Whippler, the very oft-used offensive lineman from the Ohio State University. We thought it was going to make him. He's with the Browns still, right?
Yeah, he is. Appeared in 6 games in 2023.
There you go. Way to go, Luke. Proud of you, man. But the Skatt. we were thinking about getting like the PHNX Sun Devils guys like in their own personal green room, and they just have to sit there and wait for Skatt to go off the board.
I don't hate that. That's good. I like that.
Just watching every pick, not being able to like comment on it, not necessarily just them dialed into when Skatt goes.
Dressed up in suits, just like you're in the green room and have to sit there starting Thursday. Because Anthony Totri famously once said that Skattebo was going in the first round after the Peach Bowl. I think starting Thursday, they have to go
that
into.
Aged very well.
Yeah. Listen, I can't hate on it. I've had some questionable takes. Go
rehash that one again. What was it?
I think Totri had mentioned it that he thought Skattebo was worth a first round pick at one point.
I think you might be right. I think that's coming back.
There were some wild takes after that Peach Bowl performance, and look, I get it. Like
it was an all timer, man.
It was one of the most exciting losses you can experience.
If I was an ASU fan, I would be ready to do anything for Cam Skatt. Like take a bullet for the guy in that moment, 100%. Like that was incredible.
I mean, we had this Mike bringing up Jack Sawyer in the chat. I think we asked this last week. I'm going to keep asking Bo this. Is just Jack Sawyer get drafted ahead of Cam Skattebo? That's a tough question.
We were talking about this. We highlighted him as we started our breakdown of our top 100 prospects, and we put Captain Jack on there. But then, like I saw where Fran Duffy has him. He's got Captain Jack
ahead of
98.
Oh, did he drop him? Okay,
he's got him 98.
No, we had him.
I don't think Captain Jack goes ahead of Cam Skattebo, but it's like it's not a race that's very flattering for anybody, I think.
Yeah, I think the over-under for Jack is I think he's a 4th round pick at best right now, which is sad. Makes me sad. I'll tell you what doesn't make me sad. These super chats. How about Trenton Smith getting us started here? $19.99. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Trenton, for supporting the show on that level. Ron Wolfley wants the Cardinals to pick Tyler Booker at 16. Seems like a bunch of the big-named Arizona Cardinal radio hosts, besides both of you, want them to go with Booker or Banks. What am I missing?
Yeah, I don't know if Booker's like his RAS, like his athleticism.
I'm out.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not in line with what the criteria off of what Monti Ossenfort traditionally uses. Like Booker's, it was brutal. What, like a 3?
It's like it's in the 30% of guards ever in draft history, and that would put you as like a UDFA / like 7th round, 6th round type of athleticism score.
I get the need. And especially like you can at most points persuade me to like a tackle is always important. You can always use tackles, but the way I view Banks, I just don't think he's better than some of the guys that you could plug in on the defensive front 7. I still think that remains the biggest need. But I mean, I get it. Like, and Wolf, like he loves like hard-nosed football. Of course, he wants a big like mashing, bulldozing guard potentially.
Yeah, we're in the minority. I'm okay with that. I think that's healthy. I think this is a healthy show to consume every day. But we don't subscribe to a lot of like groupthink. I think a lot of our information is based on people we talk to close to the team and what we feel like is going to be prioritized, and looking at. I'm with Bo. I don't think Monti Ossenfort in a blue chip defensive line draft is taking a guard 16th overall.
If you went and talked to anybody's uncle, anybody, like, hey, do you think the Cardinals should take it? They'll be like, I think you need to take an offensive lineman. That's just the stocking.
I think if your name is Membo or Will Campbell, then let's do that. Let's have that discussion. By the way, Bo, you and I were texting before the show. Patriots basically, I think, kind of came out. Their love affair for Will Campbell is being publicized. Where Vrabel loves him, they think of him as a left tackle. So there's another spot where Mason Graham could fall, and then Jag's going to jag.
What's Raiders that called? It's a hard launch. The Patriots had a hard launch with Will Campbell.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you remember our mock from last week, I pushed for that pick. I can't remember what we ended up doing, but I said Will Campbell to the Patriots, and you guys told me I was a big jerk and it was wrong, but that's fine.
Okay. So do you want your flowers? Is that what you're requesting right now?
Here's
you
what
want Damon and I to stop the show and say,
hey,
on Friday, Johnny, you know what? You were right. We were both wrong. You're very handsome. We're both ugly.
Now
You're so smart.
condescending. Now you're being
We're really
condescending. I don't want
dumb.
to do this. You've ruined it now. All right, let's look at this real quick.
We mocked the Heisman Trophy winner to the Patriots like big stupid idiots, and then you wanted the guy with baby T-Rex arms being there holding down the left tackle spot for Drake May.
I feel like I know ball, and I know what Vrabel wants, and I know what he doesn't want, and I don't think Mike Vrabel wants Travis.
Yeah, exactly.
I
know where you're going.
I don't know that Johnny gets to talk about what Mike Vrabel does and doesn't want when Bo and I are cracking a cold one with Mike Vrabel in Indianapolis. And meanwhile, sweet John is up in his spot, his World War II mattress, his haystack mattress, and he's in there sleeping the night away.
You were watching Greg Bragg Jr. strike out with Mike Vrabel. That's what you were doing. You weren't conversing with Mike Vrabel. You were watching Greg Bragg's trying to
more so. We were more hung with Mike Vrabel than you, who claims to know him so well.
No, I think what you guys were doing, hint of being a little bit pathetic. I'm just going to put that out there. It's a little pathetic.
Braves looked me in the eyes and he said, Damon, you won't catch me dead picking a cornerback.
Yeah,
foo both sides of the ball player.
Well, there you go.
We're going line of scrimmage.
Wait do you not use your info? Get that. Let's look at that. I want to look at the draft order again.
It was an exchange between friends, Johnny. I just, I felt like that was a moment that we shared.
I don't need to be friends with Mike Vrabel. I have enough.
Johnny, I can recap the night. You were at home. It was me, Damon, Shane Deef, Diana Rossini, PFT Commander, and Mike Vrabes, all hanging out.
It's great. Oh, so I'm so happy for you guys because I was, and this is with all due respect to people without homes, I was one step away from being homeless that week based on my living conditions. No hot water, no bed to sleep on. And I had to come and do 12 hours of content every day. And you guys are like, come out and stay out till 3 a.m. It's like, sorry, I have a job to do. It's all fun and games on this show when the host isn't ready to go and this show's a train wreck. But that never happens because I have to have my you-know-what together. I was one step away, bro. It was like, couldn't bathe, couldn't sleep, just fighting for my life.
You had one day where the water was cold. And I slept on the same cot that you had. I gave you the bed the final night, and it wasn't that bad.
It was literally the worst. All right, pull this up. No, get it back. Let's get it back up there. All right, Cam Ward. Okay, second overall. I'm gonna say Abdul Carter right now.
Okay,
Shador. I saw Hasselbeck said he's Andy Dalton. Good luck with that, Giants. Patriots. Will Campbell. Travis Hunter then goes 5th. Raiders take Genty. Is there a reality in which Mason Graham falls to the 7th overall to the Jets?
And they have Mason Graham and Quinnen Williams?
Or they are taking phone calls on Mason Graham, maybe.
Yeah.
I think Mason Graham's floor to the Carolina Panthers based on them giving up their draft board to Kay Adams today.
And and they were in the Milton Williams sweepstakes, so right there with the Cardinals and the Patriots. They want to upgrade that spot desperately.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Jets might be a willing participant, but like that's 9 picks. That you got to give up some capital to get there.
You think you'd have to give up your 1 next year? Could you do 47?
I think that's automatic.
Would you trade 16 in your first next year for Mason Graham?
I think I would.
Yeah, I would too.
But it's probably going to cost more like what you got from the Texans to get up without the quarterback tax.
That's fair.
Even though there's no quarterback.
This is fun. I'm having fun. People are saying no in the chat. Now some people are saying 100%.
He would transform what they did up front.
I don't know what more you got.
He's the consensus top defensive lineman in one of the most talent-rich defensive line drafts.
Stands for Abdul Carter, but who's hurt right now? Mason Graham, like you can make an argument, it's like the best player in the draft, but
yeah, I mean, I would be willing to give the first round pick for 2026. I don't think that's gonna be enough.
No, Brian,
like what it would take to get up there, I don't know if I would be willing to give that up.
Yeah, and Jets defensive head coach now, they would probably just take him. $5. If Monti Ossenfort trades back and gets an extra third, I'd be okay with him taking Skattebo. Good teams take players for the future, not just now. 100%. James Conner's contract's basically year to year. He's a great player, and I'm not suggesting James is going anywhere. But, I mean, like Kyle Shanahan takes a running back every year. The Cardinals love to run the football. It's the identity of the offense. Like, you couldn't take another back it's a really good running back class. Like, I think they're going to they could take a back in general. Why can't it be Skattebo? But again, I understand. Like, this team is not a running back away. And I think that's the hardest thing. If this was last year's draft and we knew they were going to take a back and they took Trey Benson and Skattebo was in last year's draft, I mean, then it'd be a completely different conversation. Yeah. So I get it.
Well, an extra third or an extra top 100 pick changes the conversation as well. Yeah. I mean, that's when you're starting to have an excess of picks, and like a lot of the heavy lifting needs to be done with your top 3 picks. Like it's been the last 3 drafts for the Cardinals as they've gone Paris Johnson Jr., a premium position in BJ Ojulari, and then another one with Garrett Williams. And then last year, Marv, Darius Robinson, and Max Melton. And then they got a little bit looser, more cavalier with how they utilized it. But it's great point by Brian.
Jackson, $4.99. Thank you so much, Jackson. Who has more receiving yards, Bo, in 2025? Marv, Trey, or other? I think Trey will have more catches, but yards will be close. It better not be other. That'd be a disaster, I would think. Unless Michael Wilson.
I think Marv.
I do too.
Like that's kind of becoming the consensus. You talk about groupthink, you look around and people are projecting Marvin Harrison Jr. to have a massive 2024. But are they falling into the same trap where they're not going to take in the actual facts of what the Cardinals like to do offensively? And because Trey McBride exists and is a big integral part of their offense, if not the vocal point in the passing attack, like when people are putting up, 1,400, 1,500 yards, like we're not learning our lesson from the first time. But if Marvin Harrison Jr. goes out there and has 12 to 1,300 yards, it's still a really damn good season.
I mean, the explosives with Marv have to return more consistently because, I mean, I love Trey. Trey's a 10-yard per catch guy. He averaged, I think, 10.3 yards per catch last year. Marvin Harrison Jr. last year was at 14.3. Like, if you spread that out over 12, 13, 1,400 yards, this offense is completely different. The identity of this offense is completely different. So I think you and I have the same mindset. Like, Trey is your underneath guy, and Marv is you're stretching the field. You're getting big explosives, even if you move him around from outside to maybe a slot receiver. And then again, so many people, and we'll get to this. I think we'll save it for tomorrow. Bill Barnwell basically said the Cardinals should trade, spots with the Steelers in the first round and then ship Michael Wilson to the Steelers for George Pickens. And it's like, I know that it's in vogue to bail on Michael Wilson because he's not T. Higgins and he doesn't have 1,200 yards. But I think Michael Wilson right now, unfortunately, is a byproduct of the limitations this offense had last year. And I think if you're projecting this offense to go status quo with personnel, continuity, it's going to take it to the next level. Michael Wilson's going to be a big part of that too. I'm not ready to sit here and devalue his impact on this offense.
Right. And I don't think that the Cardinals, to me, that would be a tough trade for them to pull off. I understand the potential ceiling there. George Pickens far outweighs Michael Wilson just based on, what they've done the NFL level respectively. But player for player and what's been out there about George Pickens, and then also what's we know about Michael Wilson to be true, how leaders, high level guy with great leadership qualities. I don't know if the Cardinals would be interested in pulling off that deal just based on that. And I know
George,
yeah.
Why are the Steelers giving up on a 24-year-old wideout?
Right.
George Pickens, the dude.
Was the guy Jersey Jerry said that George Pickens was he late to a game or he showed up 20 minutes, 30 minutes before a game?
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind move. I mean, it's similar what Hollywood Brown would do. Hollywood Brown got arrested for speeding because he was running late. The Cardinals don't do that anymore. And again, I think Michael Wilson, the best is yet to come from our guy Mike Willie. Brian, $5. He's back. I really think the offense will be more explosive. I think the staff was aware of the limitations of the D, didn't want to put them in bad spots. It's a great takeaway because you could not, as Kyler, it had happened in the Seahawks game with the interceptions. Like we saw that this defense could only do so much. And what you're hoping now is like the Vikings last year, the offense evolves, and then you can take some chances maybe defensively that you're going to get some more turnovers and you can make up. Remember the Bills game when the Cardinals were up big and the Vikings game when they were up big, and they fell to both those teams because both those teams were explosive and could make up a big amount in a short amount of time. The Cardinals were not built like that on either side of the ball last year.
It's great stuff there for from Brian. Brian crushing it in the super chats. So did everybody throughout the day. We also like George Pickens. I think he's going to be involved in Kyler's softball game. He's going to be in the celebrity softball game. And I'm sure Michael Wilson will be. So
yeah. And
James Conner, we just announced that today. You can get your tickets. Make sure you're following along at PHNX_Cardinals. We've got links there. We're going to do more and more with this thing. We're excited about it. This pumping up, promoting Kyler's event coming up on May 17th, Johnny.
Yeah, we got something cooking, hopefully. So do us a favor, grab some tickets. They're only $19. Bo and I, Damon, Dawg, I think we're going. I think tentatively, can we say like we'll be there, hanging out, having a good time. And again, like perfect. So we've got Dobson Ranch Golf coming up on April 12th, right? Then you're going to be playing in a foursome. I'm going to be out there. We're going to be hanging out. And then a couple weekends later,
you want to be my caddy?
No. I don't think I have any interest in doing that.
Come on.
You've ruined the moment now.
Huh?
I've ruined the moment now.
If I need a club or something, or I need my ball washed, say, Johnny, can you take care of this?
I don't like any of those things.
Hey, why don't you fetch me a beer out of the cooler there?
Damon, I don't get this guy off the screen. We're doing Dobson Ranch on the 12th. Spots are still available. Then we got our draft party at Gila on the 24th. And then we got Kyler Murray's softball game, Salt River Fields, which we're fired up about, which hopefully we'll have more info here soon on maybe our involvement. So we mentioned it all offseason. We got some big stuff cooking up here. More and more tea leaves here being unveiled. Yeah.
The rest of the week, Fran Duffy, the return of Mike Garafolo. So, of course, you want to make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. The path to 40K continues. Tim jumping in, Johnny.
$4.99. I would love us to have the luxury of taking Skatt, but I don't think we have it right now. Too many other positions of need. Listen, nothing wrong with that. I think that's the most common take is like Cardinal fans would like Skattebo on the team, but this team is not a Skattebo away. And I get that. Listen, if they find themselves with an extra pick or two from a trade down and we're all happy and there's a surplus, start printing the jerseys. How about it? We're fired up here. Great start to the week. Again, hit us with a like. Subscribe, as Bo mentioned, creeping our way to 40K for your number one Arizona Cardinals podcast and PHNX Sports, your number one Phoenix digital media company, Bo.
Yeah. And right now, go PHNX.com. If you're a diehard, you got access to our top 100 Cardinals board. It's specific to the Arizona Cardinals. And you're not going to find it anywhere else. Nobody else has a big board for this Cards team. You want access for it? Well, you can get it at a very discounted rate. Check out gophnx.com/diehard, and you can get it at a very low price. So I've heard. I don't know if I'm supposed to be speaking on that, but if you want to get in on all access to our draft insight from Johnny, myself, Damon, and of course, Fran Duffy, do it now. You also get that access to the exclusive member Discord. And if you don't, we still have something for you. How about check out our top 100 to 51. Johnny and I do a breakdown of those prospects. We mentioned Captain Jack, maybe a developmental quarterback in there. Some very intriguing prospects. Go check out that video here on PHNX Sports on YouTube and comment which prospect you like kind of in that range, a hidden gem range, Johnny.
Smash a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Big thanks to everybody. Again, get your draft tickets now. Tag us on Twitter. For Bo, Damon, I'm Johnny. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.